When looking at the Tiger King from a mental health perspective, we find that when we're looking to find the appropriate diagnosis for Joe Exotic, this documentary is just cut. Let's just talk about 3 things that we can learn from the Tiger King documentary because, we don't want to end up like that. This is the Dr. K Show. I'm Dr. Karthik Ramanan. I help ambitious individuals end self-criticism with tools and strategies to create optimal everyday mental health. If we're just meeting and you need to silence that anxiety so that you can focus on what you need to focus in these challenging times, I am here for you. I encourage you to hit that subscribe button right now. Let me just start off by saying that I never attempt to diagnose a real person based on a documentary, an article, or anything like that. Diagnoses are made through the interaction of a healthcare professional and a patient, and to speculate about what a real person is going through without even talking to them is unethical. So let's just focus on what we can learn from this documentary series on Netflix. Number 1, at the time of making this video, we are in the midst of a global pandemic and economic recession. Life is hard right now. And yet, this documentary about Joe Exotic and big cat culture has captured our attention worldwide. How is this even possible? I wasn't even planning on watching it despite all the memes that were popping up on Twitter. And then my wife goes, "I think you need to make a video on this, so why don't you just watch the trailer?" Here's the thing. I didn't know about Joe Exotic. I didn't know about how unique of a character he is. I didn't know there were more tigers in captivity than in the wild. I didn't know about these private zoos. 2 factors got us hooked. One was simply how unique and crazy the entire story was. I don't need to tell you all the reasons why. When we go through all those "oh dang" moments as we watch the documentary, each one gives us a dopamine hit. And those moments need to increase in intensity, and they do, to continue giving us dopamine hits episode after episode. Second, it provoked curiosity. Let's dive into this because here's where we can learn something about ourselves. Curiosity. Curiosity is an incredibly powerful motivator, not just for if we're trying to inspire other people or motivate them at work or at home. It's also an incredible motivator for ourselves. If we're stuck in survival mode, giving ourselves an opportunity to be curious like a child goes a very long way in discovering more about ourselves and improving our mental health. Why? Because we all have the need to grow. If we're not growing, we're dying, and curiosity stimulates growth. If you're getting value out of this so far, I would greatly appreciate if you'd smash that like button for me right now. Thank you. Number 2, if we're not careful, even the best of intentions can lead us down the wrong path. From some of the comments made in the series and the interviews after, it appears that Joe and some of the others portrayed in the documentary originally started with good intentions for the animals. Perhaps this is why some of the zookeepers originally appreciated the opportunity to work with the owners of the facilities to serve the animals. They were loyal despite getting yelled at regularly, having a tiger eat a hand. However, as the documentary clearly portrays, things went awry. In the case of Joe Exotic, it's said repeatedly how much he enjoyed attention, that he fired somebody just because the cameras were rolling. Every single one of us has a human intrinsic need for a sense of purpose and significance. Our life has to mean something. We will do whatever it takes to achieve that. How we go about that varies from person to person. But as we saw in the case of Joe, the need to have that sense of significance fulfilled led him to make some terrible decisions. Carol pegged her identity on rescuing big cats and going after the others who were exploiting them. Yet, at least in my opinion, and I'm sure many others, it looked like the conditions that her cats were living in didn't seem too much different. But I fully believe that she believes in her mission and she's willing to do what she needs to do to keep her park going. And that seems to be a major sense of significance for her life. So what can we learn? Examine your life to see what actions you can take on a regular basis to give you a sense of significance and purpose. Maybe it's your job as a creator or an entrepreneur serving people, or maybe it's your role as a parent or a caretaker. What gives you purpose? If you don't have a clear answer to that question, you may be more prone to making poor choices to have those needs fulfilled. By the way, I'd love to know why you were hooked to the Tiger King documentary. If you feel like being awesome, let me know in the comments below. Number 3, who we spend time with has the greatest impact on our mental health and our life. We are the average of the 5 people and ideas that we spend the most time with. Now, it's hard to say whether the tragedy of Travis's death, for instance, would have taken place had he not met Joe Exotic. And his campaign manager, Joshua Dial, who witnessed the accident and evidently doesn't have the resources for therapy to reprocess that trauma, we don't know if he'd have faced a similar trauma had he not met Joe. It's hard to say if Carol Baskin's ex-husband would have met whatever fate he had met had he not been married to her. But it's precisely why I advocate being excessively diligent about who you let into your life, who you spend time with, and which ideas enter your world as well. Your surroundings have a drastic impact on your mental health and your quality of life. If you look around and see the culture at the GW Zoo and that's aligned with the type of person that you want to be, then that's a good fit for you. But if not, just remember, spend time with the people and ideas that align with the person that you want to be. I go into this in far more detail, along with 4 other strategies to end anxiety in these uncertain times in a free Zoom class that I do every week. So if you're interested in that, click on the link below. Be sure to tune in next Wednesday for another episode of The Dr. K Show. And while you wait for that episode, be sure to check out this video right here. Always remember, I believe in your greatness.